So welcome everyone. Welcome our beautiful mentoring stewards to our Wednesday call. And we've been really stepping into the codes for healthy earth and really seeing our part to play in that. So we'll be having this great opportunity to move forward with that and begin to head into the consciousness of World Interfaith Harmony Week and what's going on in the Holy Land and healing women, healing water, and look at our participation and expertise and sharing and goodwill and all of that. So before that, and I just want to say the date is January 29th. And Oriana, why don't you open up our call? It'd be great.
Good morning. And just breathing in and nice deep breath to relax into the morning, into this beautiful day. And actually feeling that resonance deep within. How do we feel resonance? What is it that is actually doing the feeling that we attribute to resonance? When we're in resonance with others, how do we know? What does that feel to be in resonance? And what's doing the feeling? I wonder. And the more I wonder, the more I feel this vibration of the heart. The heart itself is a feeling organ. It senses, and it senses resonance. The heart itself has 40,000 neurons, quite like the neurons from our brain, but it has its own brain system. It's known as the heart of the brain. And it senses, it feels. Beyond and before the brain actually notices, the heart is the first organ to sense. So imagine that our heart and our brain in the heart is what is feeling the resonance that we have with each other as we come together and share with each other, that the heart itself is communicating heart to heart. And beyond what we would consider an emotional feeling sense, there is this sensation of resonance that the heart and the neurons of the heart are capable of feeling, sensing, knowing. So allow yourself to be in that heart brain where the neurons are feeling each other and feeling the communication and feeling the comprehension. How do we comprehend in a way that expands our awareness so that the one is increased to the many, that as we come together, we increase our ability to comprehend that which is just beyond our knowing. We open to a greater knowing that is flowing into us as we relate to the field that draws us together, that speaks to us and through us. And that as we give voice to the field, we comprehend it on a much greater level as one organism, as we organize as mentoring stewards for the good of the whole. What a wonder.
Thank you so much, Oriana. So as I was feeling into that sensation of resonance, and understanding that we come here on this call to really step into sacred strategic actioning in that full resonant frequency, or the home frequency that we're calling here. And I was really feeling the sense of the creative function of love, that we're really vessels of this beautiful, we're vessels and we're instruments to become and enact that which the field is wanting to bring forth. And so just breathe into that for a moment, because that's, feels, in that sense of, in that place of wonder, it feels so, it's an ecstatic place. It's a place of joy when we're in movement, when we're in syncopation with the energy of the field itself. So we've been, for the past couple of weeks here, we've been weaving the codes of a healthy earth into our awareness, into sort of wrapping it around that which we feel is our particular calling, and our calling as a collective. And so today, as we cultivate this and share this whole system consciousness, and really understanding our what's the word I want to use? Just the resources that are needed and how we're showing up. Just feeling deeper into that sense of sort of these guiding principles which we've been talking about. How do we step in and create as a collective? And so today, just focusing on stewardship inside of these codes for healthy earth. And with the movement of moving into this World Interfaith Week, which is a growing movement and consciousness, and that which we as Good of the Whole play a part in. It's the 7 days of rest and Unity Earth and URI and in combination with the Eco Peace in the Middle East are all coming together to create a tour in the Holy Land and an event focused on water, healing women, healing water. And so we have the opportunity to sort of weave that into our consciousness today, whether it's simply just becoming more aware, or whether it's something that we as a collective want to participate in as well. So, and that's a lot. And I'll share a little bit more about that. Welcome, Grace. Nice to feel you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so basically, in this experience of 2020, and really what's coming to me is radical visioning. Let's just take a moment before I go in deeper around this particular event and just give 1 to 2 minutes to everyone to kind of share what's moving in you from, the past couple of weeks. We talked specifically about locally how we're showing up and possibly where people were needing support. And so let's just see what's moving in the field in this collective awareness. And so I'm going to put the virtual talking stick in the middle. And if we can keep it to 1 to 2 minutes and then just sort of get a taste of and feel into these threads in this tapestry, and I'm complete and whole.
Well, this is Oriana, and I'll start us off since Shelley and I were talking briefly about water. And I am working with a PhD who's in biology, pharmacology, and we're exploring water as the intelligence that is the organizing principle within the cellular function. including how the spermata and the sperm and the egg actually come together and create life, and the microtubule spindles that are orchestrating how that one cell becomes a multi-celled being. And the microtubules contain the water, and the structuring of the atomic water seems to be the particular carrier of all optical and electrical charges. So, yeah, so wait, don't go off into all my science too quickly here. So, but I am excited about the real viewpoint of the water itself being the carrier of the not only the intelligence but the communication, that there's something that we're putting together a new hypothesis that is based on the time crystals that I have really come into knowing about, and how they are interfacing with the space of life itself unfolding, originating life. So I will stop there rather than getting any more involved in the science of it, but I'm delighted to have been making some progress and seeing that there's correlations with the fourth phase of water that Gerald Pollack has discovered, and how the actual orchestrating of water is the living presence in the world. And I believe that's what's awakening, that the living water is the life force that flows through the universe. And it's in a plasma state until it arrives and coagulates around a little speck of stardust called Earth and creates water. But water is then the first formation of life in order for that intelligence to orchestrate the various array of life forms that all contain water, that explore the terrestrial environment and feed back to evolution what it's learned from its experience with the terrestrial terrain. Okay, I'll stop, I promise. It's usually when people's eyes glaze over, like, okay, Ariana, that's enough.
Yeah, so take what you're experiencing and weave it into how you see living for the good of the whole and the community, and yeah. So just keeping it 1 to 2 minutes. Thank you.
There you go. So the good of the whole that we're coming to. I'm writing a paper for Jude Caravan for the physics of what it is that I'm talking about. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm not sure I can follow that. So I'll try to pick up a thread of that thread. And wow. So what's coming forward for me is that theme of healing women, healing waters. And I think of what's happened just in January. It's just been 1 month where there was the Women's March and a lot of climate change activities going on in Northwest Indiana, and healing the waters, particularly since I've been reading up on what our administration has done very recently with allowing more toxins and chemicals, allowing it to be dumped into our waters. So I feel like we've gone forward and backwards in the last month. So the idea of healing women and healing waters and the waters of the wounds and the waters of our emotions, it's all tying together. I will not be in at the Sea of Galilee next week. But whatever I can do locally, I'll be out of town until the 4th of February. So when is this meeting in Israel? When's the event?
I'm going to talk a lot about it.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. But yeah, thank you.
Okay. So that's what's on my mind. I don't know how to be supported except that my spiritual community keeps growing and we keep forming more bonds, which I think is just like the waters that Oriana was talking about. It's really important for people to bring our cellular makeup together in a community. And I don't know quite how to approach something to raise awareness for healing waters, healing women. I'm always bringing up good of the whole, so everything that we do is for the good of the whole. And I think it's more important now than ever that consciousness reach more and more people because of the divisiveness that is happening. And we are blessed because we've been holding the understanding of good of the whole for many years. And we need to get our megaphones, I guess. I question that too. So that's all for me for right now. Thank you.
So here's perfect indication of spirituality meeting science meeting. All right, I'm gonna tell you just a real quick little story. A number of years ago, 10 years, 15 years ago, I did a year-long ayahuasca. I did 6 ayahuasca sessions over a year. Every single time I went through this phase where it was a room of mechanical gears and everything, and this heartbeat that came through before I got into this incredible, glorious resonant field. Now, it's just a metaphor in a way, but it feels like what we're doing, as a matter of fact, is the resonant field that is so inclusive and broad. It's beyond definition in a sense, and yet in three-dimensional reality, it becomes mechanistic in a sense in order to pass the message on and to understand the functioning at this level of the resonance. So I think they fit perfectly together. As far as what I don't know why I told you that story, except that from non-definition to definition for spreading the word of good of the whole is a very important piece, I do believe. And the water piece obviously is incredibly important. So what I've been working on, writing about, thinking about is how to, as you said, Linda, get the megaphone out and spread the energetic field in a way that we can overcome, so to speak, the administrations and the old paradigm stuff that's really detrimental to the planet and to each one of us. And so I continue to do that. I continue to listen to all of your expertises, and am working toward finding how to reach more groups and more people and more organizations, and allow this beautiful resonance to infiltrate the more solid and sometimes gruesome energy fields that are out there. So I'll just stop with that. Thanks.
Henry, June, or Grace want to pop in? No?
This is June. I've been very involved and will be very involved in a remodel section of our house to create an apartment to rent out. So my time has been really concentrated on what needs to happen and how, when, and where. So I haven't done a whole lot out in the world in terms of working with this, but I certainly have been doing an enormous amount of it internally. I've been meditating twice as much as I had been for the last 2 weeks, concentrated on really doing inner work because I won't have that much time to be out in the world other than working. So, but this whole idea of interfaith and the coming together of different ideas, coming from the diversity we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and the blending now of all of that into one field with many, many different ways of believing, thinking, loving is very much in my mind and in some writing that I am going to be doing soon. So I'm mainly in the next few, maybe months, I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but we'll be putting a lot of effort into remodeling my home and my inner home so that I can be out in the world more, because hopefully it will mean I can work less and have more time, energy, and excitement for doing more in the world around all of this. So that's where I am today, and much love to all of you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for sharing. You've inspired me, especially Oriana. You opened my heart with your love and your excitement for your project, and I feel drawn to it with the waters even more deeply. For me, I was in a 5-day love bubble with Michelle Pollard, writing on the personal heart, which we got a lot of downloads this past 5 days long weekend, and feel really grateful and opening up the personal heart power and how that works in a more cohesive and explainable form. So I feel grateful for those downloads that I hope will help infuse the good of the whole with more tools. So happy to be here.
So, good morning, everyone. It's good to be in this field of coherence, to rest in it. I've been involved in some classes, Davenport classes over the past week and a half, and still close to a week to go. Today's somewhat of a day off. So, yeah, the waters, one of the classes was actually related to connecting with the plants, connecting with trees, and just opening, or one of the ideas was opening to the connection and communication that trees have all over the planet with one another, and also that the trees are like antennae. So again, through their roots, but also through the antennae of the trees, there is a connection and communication, and they do feel things that are happening all around the world, such as what's been happening in Australia. So anyway, good to plant my roots here in this circle this morning. Don't have anything more specific to say, but just that whole idea of communication and the trees as one avenue of that, and as well the communication that happens with the water and through the water. So anyway, I'm complete for now. Thanks.
Perfect segue. All of you, really fantastic. Well, just on that note, I was introduced to this movie, Wisdom Keepers, on Gaia TV last night, and when these beautiful wisdom keepers headed up into the mountains and started their ceremony for the planet, for the bringing in the consciousness, they spoke about, part of the opening ceremony was really about calling in the plants and trees and flowers to support and help the consciousness of the human, of man. And I think I'm just going to share a little bit from my personal experience, but I feel like for me, it's so much about listening and watching, becoming way more aware of how the intelligence, the consciousness within the resonant field is self-organizing. We talk about us self-organizing, but I feel like it's really about being in alignment with the way evolution is self-organizing, and that creates greater connection and greater sustainability and possibility and potential for us as human beings within the community as we live for the good of the whole. And I love that, weaving that piece about remodeling, because I feel like, at least in my world personally, it's like there is this internal and external remodeling going on. And we've been talking about it ever since the Good of the Whole retreat, that soul remodeling and really listening for what, and calming ourselves inside of that, feeling into this unitive function that we are all naturally engaged in. So it's so interesting to me. It's tricky territory in some ways, because we're individuals, like Grace was saying, the personal heart. We have our personal heart, but we are inherently connected to the whole. And I feel like this call is more and more becoming a place to really recognize that and feel that and extol that into our communities. So thank you, everyone, for sharing that. It's kind of a big piece. So everyone's been kind of talking about the water in some way, and I think it's very interesting that from the 7 days of rest, what's evolving as we move into Interfaith World Interfaith Harmony Week, and the Unity Earth, the Caravan of 2020, which is really, again, spreading this message of harmony and goodwill. And it really started, I'm going to just read this because I think it's a little bit easier. So U-Day 2020 and the Holy Land Living Water is a continuation of the U-Day series, which began in Thailand in 2012, then journeying to Ethiopia in 2018. And we all know that there was a gathering in New York City in 2019 to commemorate the UN World Interfaith Harmony Week last year. So what's evolved from that, so we can pull all these threads together and really feel how we individually and we as mentoring stewards for the good of the whole can play a part, is starting already Bob and Noel and someone from Denver and all these people, and there's 75 delegates all going to the Holy Land to participate in this expression of peace and goodwill and harmony. And that begins this week. And they're also, it's a shared journey of collaboration and regeneration along the Jordan River. Yes, they're going to the Sea of Galilee. Yes, there's going to be there's going to be a living water small conference, and they're going to the water. So what they're saying is the purpose of gathering is to draw attention to the significant role cooperation over water can play in enhancing livelihoods and engendering regional political stability. And what they're saying is, and I mean, for me as initiator of Loving Waters, it just ignites my heart. Water is at the core of sustaining all life on Earth. Sufficient access to clean water is critical for human health, the environment, economic development, but also for establishing stability and sustaining peace. This is particularly true in the region known as the Holy Land, which roughly overlaps with the Jordan River Basin, where water scarcity at all times has inflamed dissensuous regional geopolitics. The dearth of water has shaped the region's history and will play a crucial role in determining its future, especially now that water issues are further exacerbated by the additional impacts of climate change. So if we just take a moment and feel into where we're each living and how water impacts us, and as Oriana was saying, we all are coming from it in different angles, and we're being invited to participate in this event in various ways: healing women, healing water, women as being the carriers of the water, women being the core of what they're saying is the ceremony honors the essential bond of women as carriers of life and water as a source of all life. We're collectively activating an exponential healing process for all of life, and the essential unifying and healing role of women in water as we come into serving all of life. So without getting into a lot of details right now, because I'll share it out, you can go onto Facebook, you can find it on Good of the Whole, you can find it all over the place. But what I'm feeling is, for those of us that aren't going to the Holy Land, is that one thing that we can do is on February 5th, and I figured out the timing, so I'll send out an email. On February 5th, we have an opportunity to participate online, be a part of the ceremony that's happening there. And for me, I feel that what we're doing is we're really tapping into this interconnected web of all life that, in connecting with the Holy Land and connecting with Israel, what's going on, and that we're all one water, we're all connected in that way. So on really February 5th in the US, we have an opportunity to participate online, be a part of it. And then on February 6th, and it will begin with the Global Silent Minute, and I'll give the details. But mainly for what I'm feeling is to do a water ceremony around Boulder, just inviting people to come to Boulder Creek to connect in, having a greater understanding of living for the good of the whole and what that water piece, and connecting them to what's going on in Israel and the Sea of Galilee and the Jordan River. So I'm going to try to create a little template that people could do in their local area if they wanted to. And the other piece for me, which I'm going to drop in, which hasn't really been discussed yet, but I'm really looking at how Loving Waters how Good of the Whole, can be like a fiscal sponsor. So this is one of those legs of how to engage with Good of the Whole, is how Loving Waters, Good of the Whole could be a fiscal sponsor for Loving Waters and begin to connect our engagement with the earth and the water, and in that way. So this is just something that's moving in me, as well as, of course, still developing resonance documents to create a template for an event beginning here in Boulder and extending it out. So that's kind of what's moving in me. I just think there's anything else. I think that's enough. So the main thing is that in Israel, and those 75 delegates And then there's all these water ceremonialists, indigenous and non-indigenous people coming together to express that needed relationship with water. And even watching last night on this, if you haven't seen it, it's really spectacular. The Wisdom Keepers, everything that they were doing began with the water, whether it was the children, taking the children to the river and doing a blessing with them, whether it was going up to the mountaintops and speaking to those celestial elementals at the mountaintops. You know, water was is an essential, and I think it ties back to what Oriana was saying, as water is the communicator. It's how we communicate. It's how, when we're holding hands with each other, it's the dampness in our hands that is connecting. It holds the memory. It's, you know, when you think about the whales, they are the wisdom keepers for the Akashic records. You know, everything is this interconnectivity with water, and our love is that expression. So with that, I think we'll just open it up and see what's moving. And you may or may not feel to be involved in this way, and that's fine. We're here to, last week, I want to weave in one other thing, which there was a lot of feeling about wanting to get, this is actually interesting, wanting to get to know each other better. Karen, I want to honor Karen. I think she's away this week and couldn't be a part, but really feeling that she wanted to bring people together to get to know each other. Nahid felt, you know, similar. And, you know, we want to honor that in that process of self-organizing, that is a part of community. If you're feeling a strong desire for something, this is a great place to express it. And then self-organize yourself, take the creative, empower yourself to have the courage to be the one to start it. So that's what I've encouraged Karen to do, is like, if this is what you're feeling, create it. Good of the Whole will support you. So I just wanted to bring that in terms of both the individual and, as Grace is saying, the personal heart, and this more global experience. All of it matters, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Shelley. So February 5th is the first Wednesday of February, and that's when we have the Good of the Whole public, open, hello, see what Good of the Whole is about. So I think that would be a wonderful opportunity. We have 1 week to do it, right? It's 1 week away, to send out emails, send out invitations, do a Facebook event, something where it's Good of the Whole. And I'm not sure what the online thing is that you're talking about, Shelley, where there's an online, you know, how involved can we be? Is it just a Zoom call? Is it a ceremony that's videoed and showed? You know, I'm a little unclear, but I know that that's the open call at 10 in the morning on that first. So I don't know what more to add until I know what more is going on online, unless we can create something.
No, that's really great idea, Linda, and let's muse with that, because I figured out so on the 7 Days of Rest Facebook page, it would be 11:30 EST, 8:30 a.m. Pacific is when it begins. So we'll figure out something, but I think that's really awesome. We could tie into that. That's where it begins. So just, and it's an online event, like starting at, well, it wouldn't be 11. Anyway, I'll send it out. It's close to that anyway.
So it would be, from what you were saying, it would be starting a half an hour after the Good of the Whole. So we could have for me, it's 10 o'clock.
Right.
Good of the Whole public gathering, and explain what's happening, and then
right.
At 11:30 or 10:30,
I'll go over there.
Yeah, jump over.
Yeah.
We're all together.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're asking, please share this invitation with your networks and all who may wish to participate. So collective field of blessing and prayer, individuals and groups. Yeah, so more on that. But
You're on mute. Put yourself on mute.
oh, I said great idea.
Okay.
Anybody else? Nothing? Well, consider, since Linda brought that piece up about we do have the public mentoring stewards call next Wednesday, what might your piece be to share on that call? Consider being a voice for good of the whole next week. And yeah, just what might, yes, of course we can introduce what's happening, but I also feel like, you know, we have the opportunity to invite people into this experience for next week, which would be really beautiful if everyone could invite one person who might not know, like just even one person, to begin to expand. And they're going to learn more about good of the whole's connection with other organizations that are really living for the good of the whole. I'll give you an example. So this week, just the other day, I was doing a dowsing and I met through my client, this woman who was a building biologist. And it was just this great connection. And literally only just from her driving me 8 minutes, I was able to, she was sharing a little bit about her situation, and I got to talk a little bit about this experience of wholeness and how it changes and affects us. And 3 days later, she picked me up for lunch, and she started telling me how she wanted to know more and experience what it felt like to live for the good of the whole. She felt separate. She felt alone. She felt unempowered. And that's all it took. So there's someone who I might just want to invite to the call. And so invite us to really simplify. And I think that's been part of being here in Boulder for me, is just like testing out, beta testing, talking to people. Not that I'm trying to recruit anybody, but that they're actually already waiting. They're helpless. They're spiritual. They just don't get this piece. They might have spiritual masters. You know, this woman has done a lot of work, but this one thing, this experience of resonance and feeling part of a community of people that are really choosing to live for the good of the whole, you know, that's all it took, you know. So inviting everyone to kind of consider that and play that out. And who, as you're walking down the street, or who, as you're doing your jobs, you know, whatever it is, or going to a course, you know, who is the field highlighting for you that may possibly be looking for that expression? So I'm complete, and I still open it up if there's anyone else who's feeling inspired to share.
Will we continue to use your Zoom number for next week?
That's a really good question. I'm going to say yes, just because I don't know. So let's just say yes for next. Oh, right. I'll text everybody. I'll send.
Because I'm going to put it out to my various circles, and I have to give them a contact.
Okay. So
only
let's
1 week away.
Okay, so let's just say yes. We'll just use this for next week.
Okay.
Thanks for that. Thank you. All right, everyone's quiet. Well, let's start the global silent minute here, right now. And just having the invitation to the field itself to invoke in us as expressions of good of the whole, just to feel deeper into that presencing. How might we be more exquisite instruments? And let's just take a moment of silence and just feel what's moving. And also bringing in gratitude. And calling in the spirit of wholeness to infuse our living waters, our system. That we might see that wholeness in others. And that creativity and joy be cultivated in all that we do, in all that we be. And that everything that we're doing is begotten through this experience of loving presence. And so it is. Unless anyone has anything else they feel like sharing or contributing, hold open the space for a moment. Let's close this call, and with the full knowing that we are divine beings engaging in some ways, the most divine sport there is. And I'll try to send out something about the healing women, healing water. You can go to Good of the Whole, and I believe it's just listed as an event on the Good of the Whole Facebook page. And I'll share it in the community page as well. And please share it around. They're really asking. That's one way that we can do that. And if you have any groups, if you have any pages, you can directly go to, there's like those 3 dots. You can actually go and share that event directly to your pages. So we just see this expression of water beauty going out. And with that, thank you guys for joining us. It's been really beautiful and exquisite. And think about your little piece for maybe next week. And I'll send out details through the email about how that call will go. Maybe we will just meet for a half hour and then I'll go over and have that experience as a collective, that opening ceremony. So with that, blessings. Stay in touch. Love, love.
Thank you. Thank you for
Blessings,
beautiful talk.
everyone.